Y'all, welcome. It is quite a bit later at night than I normally intend to make a video, so I'm going to keep this one fairly short and just give some previews of what I'll go on ahead and talk about tomorrow. We know today that Trump, always what comes around? No, just the opposite. But it's taco time. So we know that Trump today, he won one of his favorite beefs and he lost one of his major beefs that, well, it's just a big old stick in his eye or mud in the eye, whatever you want to say. So first up, looks like old Judge Janine, wasn't able to deliver for Donald like she promised and like she tried to act like she was going to do as a big old bully. But no, she wasn't able to. There was no evidence that the Olympian did anything to vandalize that pool. And so she had to cave, which pisses Trump off because he knows that Taco is his his middle name now or nickname. But it is taco time nonetheless because they had to give up. There was no way to convict the Olympian of something he didn't do. It was a design flaw, they said. So we'll get into that deeper tomorrow. Another amazing thing is there are two banks that have refused, two major banks, Capital One, and we're going to look up the name of the other one. I believe it was possibly, I don't want to say it wrong. I don't know if it was JP Morgan, another, but they have been refusing to allow the Trump family to bank with them after they say federal guidelines say that there was evidence of money laundering if they went by the federal guidelines of what money laundering looks like. So they did not allow Trump and one of his sons to bank with them anymore. He's sued them for this. That's major news. Why it's not a bigger story, except, on just the periphery, I don't really know, because that says as much as I think needs to be said. That tells you why he knows he can get away with his $1.8 billion slush fund to hand out to Jan Sixers. So it also tells you why he expects never to ever be audited again by the IRS. So we'll dive deeply into that tomorrow. It is late now. I'm just coming on to say why I didn't have a show tonight, but those are some, major things we need to talk about. The fact that two major banks that do so much business on Wall Street refuse to allow the Trump family to bank with them. Now, come on, this is not because the banks are woke like the president will have us believe, because come on, money grubbers love to help out money grubbers. But according to these banks, it was just too obvious that the rules were not being followed when it comes to, the things that should flag you for money laundering. So they could not allow them to bank there. So let's just take a quick look at the report on the pool vandalism case that's been thrown out.
In a stunning reversal, federal prosecutors dropping their felony case against former Olympic canoeist David Hurd, who had been charged with damaging the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. The government conceding new evidence only recently provided by the Department of Interior shows, quote, the damage was the result of a botched installation and not vandalism. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro personally announced the grand jury indictment against Hearn.
the National Park Service employees observed Hearn actually forcefully and violently pulling up and removing the bottom liner with both hands.
Hearn
So it turns out, no, they didn't. That's not what was going on. So, wow.
forcefully denied those claims.
I didn't think I'd done anything wrong, so I had no reason to think I was going to be arrested.
President Trump had made the pool's more than $14 million refurbishment and repainting a major federal priority ahead of celebrations for America's 250th anniversary, repeatedly blaming the pool's subsequent problems on vandals without evidence.
And of course, this was a no bid contract. It's the same folks who were building his East Wing and that East Wing project for him. No bid contract for $14 million. Of course, it was supposed to have been less than that.
The beautiful reflecting pond where we get, I mean, we did some job. Somebody comes along and starts cutting it with a knife.
Tonight, the pool is empty.
Okay, I go fishing in country ponds because I know what an actual pond is. And he wants to call this pool a pond now, the reflecting pool. He wants to call it a pond. Well, he's made it look like a pond because all the algae that's grown there ever since this no bid contractor did a horrible job. Yeah, we can go ahead and call it a pond now. Oh my gosh.
And still being refurbished. Hearn's attorney telling NBC News the federal government owes his client an apology. In a stunning reversal, federal.
So, y'all, yeah, he is owed an apology and more. I mean, there's so many other videos of other people touching, pulling away the loose plastic that they didn't tear off themselves. It was loose from a crappy installation job. So, all right, that again, we'll talk about it tomorrow in depth. But yeah, did taco time happen today? Well, it might not work as a perfect definition of taco time because it wasn't Trump that caved, that always caved, on this one. But Judge Janine, our TV personality, she had to, once the Department of Interior, just finally coughed up the fact that there is no evidence of evidence. There was no evidence against this, against her. So, all right, we'll go more in depth on it tomorrow. Sorry for coming in late. I'm trying to make my show now every day, either 9 or 9:30. Sundays possibly even as early as 8 o'clock, since the youngin and I have to go to school now. School's back. But again, why do we talk about this? How does it relate to Hardin County? It relates to Hardin County and the fact that we don't need, from all the way in the top of our government, the federal government, to the state government and down to the county government, we don't need anything to do with no bid contracts. They give us this kind of crap, and then when someone's car gets ruined on a road that was built crappily by a no bid contract, what are we going to, is a county or a city going to blame the driver who drove on the road as if they tore it up? No, that's the same type of corollary. That's why it's necessary to say, hey, from top to bottom, we've got to make sure that our government is accountable. So y'all, once again, I will come on, we'll go on, we'll do a deep dive on all this stuff and even more. But you have been watching the Hillbilly Think Tank, very short version. And I am running for magistrate here in Hardin County's District 3. Please tune in again tomorrow and we will go fully in depth on this. But in the meantime, we've got to remember this rot, should wake us all up. Just because you have a certain letter by your name and you've been voting for anybody with that letter by their name for years, that doesn't mean that they have your best interest at heart. So, in other news, Blanche looks like he's going to be our attorney general, as we're going to talk about tomorrow too, because Tillis and Thune caved as soon as Blanche gave a statement that wasn't a statement. You know, he was supposed to put in writing, legal writing, that he would not go ahead with that $1.8 billion slush fund. Yeah, anybody who read it said, oh, it was not a legal binding document, but he just wrote some statement about it. So we'll go in depth on that. Looks like Thune and Tillis, somehow this president has them by the hair of their cojones, and yeah, they've caved. So it was taco time on anything related to the Trump team. All right, y'all. Again, tomorrow we'll go in depth on this and on more. But remember, here in Kentucky, in Hardin County, we know that united we stand, divided we fall. That is not just words on a flag. That is the glue that holds all of us together. And if we recognize and say, yes, I am my brother's keeper and my sister's keeper, then we're going to love our neighbors as ourselves. And we cannot be divided if we're doing that, and we cannot fall. So remember, everyone deployed overseas tonight. There's a lot of folks in harm's way. Bless your corazon. We will catch you back here. If the creeks don't rise tomorrow, catch you back here about 9 or 9:30. I'll post the time as soon as I can dig up all the things I need for tomorrow's stream. Have a great one.
Standing for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Built upon the shoulders of the Constitution, rule of law, and the animating principle that we are all created equal. I need to hear a hallelujah, though I'm not considered a believer by some. I still believe in the warmth of heaven come. I need the rapture I feel when my feet touch the green, green grass of home. Then I know I have reached the valley of kingdom come.